Right, we're going to talk through some exam techniques which can be used in your physical education exams in order to gain you higher marks. Okay? An exam is designed to find out how much you understand about a subject. There are some key techniques that you can learn to help you do as well as possible for each type of exam question. Now, every question starts with a command verb. So each question will start with a command verb which gives you an idea of what level of detail you need to go into in order to achieve the marks. Identify. This type of question usually tests your skill of remembering information. It can mean that you need to select from a list of options, point something out, or give a list of main features. Describe. This can be seen as the "what is it" command verb. For this, you will need to provide a series of points which usually need to be linked that include all the main features. Explain. This is "how does something work?" For this, you will need to provide an explanation with reasoning. You will need to use words such as because or therefore to help you provide an explanation. Discuss. You will need to provide a response that explores the issues or situations that is being targeted in the question. You should consider different viewpoints and contrasting ideas such as advantages versus disadvantages or strengths v weaknesses. Analyze. Here, an idea or information needs to be explained and each part explored. Provide good detail in your answer with justified reasons for any conclusions you reach. Analyzing required the writer to break something down into components. Evaluation. This is when you are required to provide a reasoned argument, much the same as describe, and expect to give both points of view, consider strengths v weaknesses or advantages versus disadvantages. Other command terms include assess, reasoned arguments of the factors with conclusion, calculate, computation of fitness data, classify, group, place or scale a number of characteristics, complete, add information to a table or a graph until it is final, define, give the meaning of the word or phrase, examine, justify a concept by fully evaluating an example, give, recalling a fact, identify, select the right answer from a range of answers, justify, give reasons for your answer, label, add names to a diagram, select, choose the most relevant answer from a range, state, recalling a fact but often in relation to some data or graphical information, using an example, add a sporting or health example to justify the point, which use in multiple choice questions. Examples. In the question, ask for an example, remember to give an example. It is an easy way to gain a mark, but a silly way to lose one. In all of our exam preparations, if the question asks you for example and you do not give one, you do not get a mark. Multiple choice questions. For a multiple choice question, you have to choose the correct answer from a list of 3 or 4 possible answers. These types of questions will usually test your ability to remember information, so revision is vital. Try to cover up the multiple choice options when you read the question so that you don't get distracted by the wrong answers, and then have time to think about what the right answer is. Mark the right answer if you see this in the list of multiple choice options. If the answer you thought of isn't there, start the process of elimination. Which one are definitely not right? You will then be left with just a couple of options and you'll need to select the one you think is most likely to be correct. If you cannot answer the question in around a minute or under, put a circle around the question number and come back to it later. If you have time at the end, go back to the circle question and try to work out the right answer. If you don't have time, just tick one of the responses. Never leave a multiple choice question unanswered. A lucky guess may get you a mark. Always read the question carefully. For some multiple choice questions, ask for what is not the right answer. So, for example, which of these is not a long-term effective training? So that not is not a long-term effective training, and it's higher heart rate in a short-term effective exercise. So it's C. Another example of a multiple choice question. Which one of the following gymnastic movements takes place in the frontal plane? The answer A cartwheel. 1 and 2 mark questions. These types of questions will usually only require a short answer. A mark is awarded for every relevant point that is made. The relevant point is almost always a key subject word or term. Always check how many marks are given for each question and then try to make that many points in your answer to gain as much credit as possible. Identify is usually a 1 mark question and will usually require a 1-word answer. Describe is usually a 2 mark question. The points made will often need to be linked to gain full credit. Explain is often a question that is worth 1 or 2 or more. 1 is worth 2 or more marks. Explanation, each mark will need to be provided to gain full credit. Examples, identify a component of physical fitness for 1 mark. Answer, flexibility. Describe one piece of equipment used in the 12-minute Cooper run test. So for 2 marks this is. So you need to get a stopwatch and then is used to time how long the person is running. So it's giving me a piece of equipment, and then for the 2nd mark it states what the piece of equipment is used for. Explain why the left ventricle wall is thicker than the right ventricle wall for 2 marks. So the left ventricle wall is thicker than the right ventricle because it has to pump blood all around the body. 1 mark. So it has to be able to contract with greater force in order to provide enough pressure to ensure blood is able to travel that distance. That is your 2nd mark. Extended responses. This type of question is not point marked. This means that you do not get a mark for every correct statement, as in the 1 or 2 mark questions. Marks are given based on your understanding of the subject content. You need to give a full and balanced answer in proper English. Read the question carefully. Read the question carefully and reread the question to make sure you're providing an answer to the question. Underline any key words in the question. Some people find it useful to write a quick plan, making a list of the key points that they want to include in their answer. You will also be rewarded marks for how well the answer is communicated, so you will need to organise your answer so that it is structured in a way that makes sense. For example, if you're exploring the advantage and disadvantage of something, then you would look to the group all the advantages together in a paragraph and then group all the disadvantages together in a paragraph. In a sport is referred to in the question, it may be that you need to explore that sport. In your answer, often you won't need to be able to be an expert on that sport to gain your marks. The main thing to consider are the key elements of the question in the sport and the components of fitness required to perform that sport. So, examples: discuss the main component of fitness required by a 100-meter sprinter in order to perform well in their sport. The answer would include the fact that a 100-meter sprinter requires power to push off the blocks with force, and then to push up from the blocks to run quickly and accelerate from the starting position. Faster reaction time to respond as quickly as possible as soon as you hear the starter's pistol. Strength in order to help them with the explosive power required to sprint quickly, as power is a product of strength and speed. Speed in their legs to be able to move very fast. Answers should be written in full sentences. You should also use technical knowledge where possible to show your understanding of the subject. Try to use correct spelling, punctuation and grammar. Try to structure your answer so that it is organised. Try to use the space provided in the answer booklet as it is as a guide to how much you should write. You will often be given more space than you are needed. Interpreting, analysing and evaluating information. Information can be presented in graphical form. You will need to know how to work out what this information is telling you and answer questions related to the information presented. In an exam, take the time to look at the graph properly to pick out what it can tell you. So this graph here is showing the heart rate of a fit person and an unfit person exercising at the same intensity for 15 minutes. You can see the red line is the unfit person and the green line is the fit person. This graph shows a number of things. When a person exercises, their heart rate increases. When a person stops exercising, their heart rate decreases. An unfit person has a higher resting heart rate than a fit person. An unfit person has a higher heart rate when they're exercising at the same intensity. A fit person takes less time for their heart rate to return to resting values after taking part in exercise. So an example, explain the difference in time it takes for a fit person's heart rate to return to resting levels compared to an unfit person's heart rate. To answer this, first state what the graph tells you. It takes less time for a fit person's heart rate to return to resting levels compared to an unfit person's heart rate. 1 mark. Then explain it using whatever knowledge is relevant. This is because the fit person's heart is able to pump out more blood each time it contracts. Stroke volume is greater. 1 mark. Because of cardiac hypertrophy. 1 mark. This means that the oxygen debt, 1 mark, is repaid at a faster rate in the fit person, so their heart rate can return to resting levels more quickly compared to an unfit person. You may be asked questions related specifically to interpreting the information on the graph, e.g. what happens to heart rate when a person takes part in exercise. Or you may be asked physiological questions about how adaptations of cardiovascular systems means there is a difference between heart rate of a fit person and an unfit person. Example, the green curve shows a lower exercising heart rate than that of the purple curve. Evaluate the physiological differences between the two performers that produce this difference. The answer would include differences such as the fit athlete has lower resting heart rate than the unfit athlete. The fit athlete has greater stroke volume than the unfit athlete. The fit athlete has greater heart rate range than the unfit athlete. The fit athlete has greater potential cardiac output than the unfit athlete. The fit athlete can work at higher intensities aerobically. The fit athlete has larger, thicker heart walls than the unfit athlete. The fit athlete has a faster recovery than the unfit athlete and will be ready to perform again sooner. The fit athlete removes lactic acid more effectively than the unfit athlete.